everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Cathy. I'm Cathy Russ, the director of the Troy Public Library, and today my very special guest is City Manager Mark Miller, who also happens to be my boss. Welcome, Mark.
Hi, Cathy.
It's so great to have you on the show. Thanks very much for sitting down and talking to me.
You're welcome.
So before we get into all things related to city management, I thought it'd be great if the residents of Troy could get to know you a little bit better. So let's start at the beginning. Mark Miller is born, and this is a question I've wanted to ask you for as long as I've known you.
Really?
Mark F. Miller. What does the F stand for?
You call me Francis, I'll kill you. You know what movie that's from?
It's Stripes. Yeah. Yep. You just made the list, buddy. Remember that quote. So, do you have brothers and sisters? Where did you grow up?
Well, I want to backtrack. My dad's name was Frank, and so they probably wanted to make it fancy.
Okay. So no one will call you Francis. So where were you born?
St. Mary's Hospital in Livonia.
Okay, all right. Did you grow up in Livonia?
No, Plymouth Township.
All right.
Schoolcraft and Haggerty. You know where the Lake Point Tower is on M14?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So are you a West Sider? Is that considered the West Side?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But both my parents are from kind of downriver, Delray and Lincoln Park.
Okay. So where'd you go to college?
I went to 1 year at Eastern Michigan and didn't like it, and then looked at transferring to either Northern Michigan and Michigan State. I was scheduled to go to where you go up to the university and you I forget what they call orientation.
Yeah.
And I got accepted to state and I canceled my orientation and then went to Michigan State.
All right. So what did you major in?
Well, I was no preference to start, and I took some career counseling classes and exams and explored urban planning, and I got a bachelor's of science in urban planning.
So that was not to, I don't want to give away your age or anything. So just generally.
Well, you can give it away. I graduated in 1983. And so
The era
a plug for Michigan State, though, the urban planning program, it was the first undergraduate urban planning program in the country and the second master's degree after Harvard.
That is really cool. I guess I'm just trying to get a feel for like what was going on in urban planning at the time, like the trends, because they're so different now these days. And so, like, okay, if you graduated in 83, parking lots behind buildings, cities, more subdivision oriented, not so much the walkable downtowns.
Curvilinear subdivisions.
Curvilinear?
Yep.
So is that what we have in Troy?
Mostly, yeah.
Okay.
As opposed to think of a grid,
Okay.
opposite of a grid.
Okay. So yeah, describe that curvilinear just so for the folks at
long
home.
and floating turns and cul-de-sacs.
Okay. Yeah, so I grew up in the subdivision off Long Lake between John R. and DeQuinder, and I would say that's very curvilinear because you could follow the bike route signs to get to the schools.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. So what else as far as like the urban part of urban planning? Did you want to work in a city like Detroit or Chicago, or did you want to be more suburban?
Well, first of all, 1983 was a recession. I wanted a job.
Yeah.
So, but I had probably three career goals. One, I wanted to work in the private sector, and I did work as a consultant early on, and I wanted to become a planning director. And that sort of was my goal, and that's why I did a lateral transfer from Clinton Township to Troy, and then I became the planning director in 2001.
Okay. So what did you do at Clinton Township? Same sort of work?
Same sort of work. I was the assistant director of the planning and community development department, and I was in charge of the community development block grant program. But they got about $1 million a year. It was a substantial. And then I did all other grants for all other departments, but then I had to know all the planning and zoning too to back up the director.
So you did a lot of writing then too for the grants.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that's really cool.
Filled out a lot of federal paperwork.
Yes. Yeah. So it's good experience to have as a city manager, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's switch it up a little bit. You're married and you have
Yes.
4 kids?
4 kids.
And I remember Margot and Tommy.
Those are the oldest daughter and youngest son.
Okay. Who's in
and
the
then
middle?
Bo,
Okay.
and then Meryl.
Meryl. Okay. So how did you meet your wife?
I met her, you're not going to believe this, on the pool deck of Schoolcraft Community College.
On the pool deck?
Yeah, my best friend.
I didn't know they
was
had a pool.
Yeah, an indoor pool. My best
Oh, okay.
friend was the lifeguard, Pete, and Laura was swimming lanes.
Oh my gosh. And so did you sort of waited for her and said,
No,
let's go out?
I didn't wait for her. It was just all the people that kind of went to. So my best friend and I, we both went fall to Eastern. We both didn't like it. Well, he quit after one semester and went to Schoolcraft, I stayed at Eastern one more semester. So they became a group of friends.
Okay.
And then eventually we went out with a bunch of different people to see Love at First Bite.
Oh my gosh, I remember that movie. That was with George Hamilton, right?
Yes, it was. Bad tan and all.
Oh my goodness. Well, it worked out for you though. How long have you been married?
32 years.
Okay, all right. And she's a cardiac nurse.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
She works pre-op and post-op
So-
with heart patients.
Do you have opposite schedules or do you get to spend time together? She doesn't do the 12-hour shifts?
No, she doesn't do 12-hour shifts, but she goes to work earlier.
Okay.
Like she's
okay.
probably at home right now taking her after work nap.
Tell us about your kids. What are they up to?
My oldest daughter is an emergency room nurse. Let me backtrack. She went to University of North Dakota, played hockey, and when we sent our kids off to school, we said, you have to get a job. You can't be a typical jock. She decided she wanted to be a nurse. However, the nursing program interfered with hockey, and she was the first person ever to get a deferred acceptance. And then the hockey team paid for a 5th year at the College of Nursing, and then NCAA paid for a 6th year, and then she became a nurse. So right now she's a nursing manager, and she's going to school for a PhD to become a nurse practitioner.
That's fantastic.
She stayed in, but the bad side is she stayed in Grand Forks.
Oh, so
And so my oldest son is married, has a daughter who will be 3 in like 12 days. And they live up in Marquette, and he kind of works in the environmental world. And then my younger daughter lives in Detroit along Cass Avenue and he's going to public relations at Wayne State.
oh my goodness.
And my
Okay.
youngest son, Tommy, is going into his junior year at Michigan State and plays on the hockey team. Packaging.
Packaging. I know that's been mentioned, but I know you follow hockey very closely because of Tommy, and I've been very supportive of and going to his tournaments. How did you get into hockey? How did that become such a great love for you?
Probably because I grew up with a bunch of people that played hockey in Plymouth, and I was paying attention to the Red Wings on their slow rise to get the Stanley Cup. I took a hockey class in college.
A hockey class?
Yeah, and then
Did you get to play? So you got graded on how well you played hockey?
yeah, you had to know the rules. There was a
Okay.
test on the rules. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, but then the story is Margot, the oldest, was at preschool, and they always send home a bunch of flyers, and they're young, you read them to them, and one was for Livonia hockey program. She said she wanted to play, so all rest is history.
Oh my gosh. So 2 of your 4 kids are very into hockey. And Margot played NCAA and Tommy's
Yep.
NCAA as
Yes.
well. That's really impressive to have 2 kids playing at that level. That's really cool. Do your other kids feel like badly that they didn't get into hockey, or they play
played
other sports?
hockey.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they played hockey.
All right. And your other big hobby, at least the one that I'm aware of, trout fishing.
Yes.
How did you get into fishing?
I had a childhood friend who had a family cabin, house, whatever, on the Manistee River. And so when we became teenagers, we started driving up, and I got exposed to it. And I like it because you're out in nature. That's really the reason why.
And are there like standards in trout fishing where you know you're really good? Like if you catch 10 fish per session, or it doesn't matter? Like, the way
Well,
hockey
I know
has-
I'm not good
How do you know you're not
because
good?
I don't catch very many fish and very big fish.
But it's peaceful and it's relaxing, and I know you and Tommy go from
Yep.
time to time.
Yeah, we were
out
fishing
there.
last week.
Do you have a favorite place?
Generally around Grayling. Every river has its own characteristics, and every year I fish some on the Manistee River, the main branch of the Asabo, the north branch of the Asabo. And I think probably the south branch of the Asabo, there's a large area called the Mason Tract, which was donated
yeah.
by the Duran family. It was an auto baron that had a huge fishing, lots of land. I don't know what you would call it, in a castle. He actually had his own castle.
His own castle?
Yep,
Is it
and-
still there?
The foundation is.
Okay.
But the family donated the land in perpetuity to the people of Michigan, and there's no hunting and just bad dirt roads.
So you just go up and you fish and you hang
Camp.
out and camp?
Mm-hmm.
Do you pitch the tent? And
Mhm.
oh my goodness. I would glamp, but I don't think I could camp.
You have to have a certain mentality to camp. If you don't have it,
Yeah,
don't do it.
yeah, and I don't have that mentality. But do you like, building the campfire and
Every guy likes
I
building a
know,
campfire.
I know, setting up the tent, dude. You don't go, find your dinner though, like hunt down this, anything like that. And now
The hardest thing we hunt down is water at the spigot.
do you have a favorite campground?
Well, in along the South Branch, in the Mason Tract is just called Canoe Harbor.
Canoe Harbor,
Yeah.
okay.
I like going along the Fox River in the UP. Hemingway wrote about it,
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
but he lied.
How did,
Well, in the story, Nick Adams gets off the train in Seney and goes to the river, and he stole the name from the Two-Hearted River. There is a Two-Hearted River.
Yeah.
But the story is the river near Seney is the Fox River, but he called it the Big Two-Hearted because, and Hemingway said, because sounds pure magical.
Ugh.
The Big Two-Hearted.
Well, that's typical Hemingway though. He
Yeah.
was kind of I don't like Hemingway very
I know,
much.
you're a woman.
That's right. That's right. So now we're talking about books. Do you have any favorite authors or things that you like to read about?
Yeah. There's books about fishing, hockey, and I used to read a lot of novels, and it was more of the action hero guys. But a couple of my favorite books are A River Runs Through It, which is technically a novelette by Norman MacLean, which was made in a movie with,
Robert Redford.
as a director.
And Brad Pitt too,
Brad
right?
Pitt,
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was actually written, it's an interesting story. The novelette was written by Norman MacLean, who grew up in Montana and then eventually became an English professor at Northwestern, I believe, University of Chicago.
All right.
And then Trout Madness, which is written by a former state Supreme Court Justice, Paul Volcker.
And like, what's
John,
the madness of trout? Like, why is it trout madness?
Well, he just tells it's a book of short stories, and you can't tell how much is truth or lies.
I just like funny titles. That's a funny title.
Well,
Trout madness.
Well, then there's one short story called Paulson, Everywhere a Paulson. So he was the prosecutor for the county, and the game warden said someone got caught with 115 brook trout, and he said, I couldn't assign that to anybody. I had to find out where one person could find 115 trout in one place. So he went to the town, and the jury was picked, and everyone on the jury was a family member from Paulson. And so the guy was innocent in the end.
Well, I know you used to read John Sanford. Do you still like books like that?
Yeah. I need to start reading more.
Well, I know sometimes, you got a lot going on these days.
No, but the way that I read, I like to read to help fall asleep before I go to sleep.
Yes, it is a good way to relax and wind
Yeah.
down after the end of a busy
So
day.
if you have any good suggestions, I would appreciate it.
All right, I will definitely send a list your way. So it looks like it's time to take a break, but
Okay.
when we come back, we are going to talk about all things related to city management and the wonderful city of Troy.
All right.
So we'll be right back.
I'm looking forward to it.